Nashville, and then moved to Los Angeles, and where your career just has taken off in such amazing, God-ordained ways, you know, and Nomad has played for Sting. You've had a chance to play with Stevie Wonder, Celine Dion, Barbra Streisand, Justin Timberlake, Justin Bieber.
No, don't mention that.
Right. Hey.
No, we Canadians.
Do we have some believers in the room? Okay.
You have to do this, Steve.
We've done, he's done movie work, which is a different kind of guitar playing. He's played for, what movies have you played? Happy Feet? I know you did
Happy Feet 1 and 2, Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Men in Black 3, The Lorax, P.S. I Love You, all the beautiful guitar work and some of these things, that was all Nomad. So he's one of the players that's behind the scenes doing all this stuff. And he's currently on the road with Babyface as the music director for Babyface. And you're getting ready to go out on tour again.
In a few hours, I'm headed to North Carolina.
Yes, and you're playing with,
Can I get a ride?
playing with Babyface in North Carolina in a few hours.
Whereabouts?
Tomorrow is Greensboro, and then Sunday is Charlotte.
Yeah.
Can I get a ride?
And Saturday is Virginia. Somewhere. Bouncing, yeah.
Yeah. Would you please welcome Nomad Ripoll?
You know, check. There you go. One of the first signs of old age is when you do that. Is that right? I do that all the time now. And I wear contacts. Thank you, Steve Krenz, for that amazing intro. Wow. Okay, so we have lots of stuff to cover in a very short amount of time. First of all, people ask me, why do you wear this shirt that says your name on it? Or why do you go by Nomad? Well, the whole thing started like this. My father is from Cuba, and my mother is Italian. So I'm Cuban-Italian, and to answer your question, no, I don't have a temper at all. So don't tick me off, people, okay? But, so, the problem comes with the name is, my last name is Ripoll. It sounds Italian. You add an I, it's extremely Italian. Ripolli, right? So everybody says, oh, Mike Ripolli or Mike Ripoll. That's not it, it's Ripoll. So it's actually French, Spanish, long story. Anyway, I got tired of, people slaughtering my name, especially on album credits or film credits. So I said, I need to come up with a little alias, hence Nomad. But you say, why Nomad? Well, because as musicians, most of us are modern day nomads, right? Especially someone like myself or anybody who tours, we travel the globe playing music. So there you have it. And I'm 44 now. I probably shouldn't say that on tape. But since I've been born, I've lived at well over 30 different addresses. So I'd say that's nomadic. There you have it. That's the spiel. That's who I am. So again, I think I mentioned before about so if I had a mandolin, that would be the Italian side, right? But if you play it on a nylon string, then it sounds Spanish, So that's a little bit about what we're going to talk about today. I just wanted to give you that quick demonstration. So I have dubbed myself the career guitarist because I have a book called The Career Guitarist. What that simply means is I play guitar as a career, for a living, right? To earn money. Knock on wood. And like Steve said, it has been a blessing. Like my dad taught me, it can also be a curse sometimes. But we all know that because all of us who play the guitar and have a passion for music understand that, it ebbs and flows. There's mountains, there's valleys, that's what happens. As a career guitarist, what's important for me, and what I like to teach any other aspiring career guitarists out there, or if you are an existing career guitarist, I just like to give you a good pat on the back of encouragement. Hey man, we're all in this together, let's keep doing it. And if you are aspiring to get there, then I want to give you some little tips and tricks on how to help you, make it a little bit easier, right? So the first thing I like to talk about is diversification. Oh, let's turn those cell phone ringers off. The first thing I like to talk about is diversifying, right? People always say you got to diversify your portfolio. Well, it's a good thing I don't have a portfolio. So, but the key to working, okay, as a career guitarist, or even if you're a hobbyist who just really enjoys it, the key to growth for me is diversity. So that means the first time you pick up a guitar and you learn this chord. You learn a good old little D chord. And I always tell like my daughter when I teach children, just think of a little triangle, right? Great, okay. Well that D chord, within that D chord, there's so many hidden possibilities, right? And it depends on the type of guitar you play it on. Because if you play a D chord like this, now it has a little bit more of a bolder sound, right? And it almost has this regal, almost classical context. When you play it like, so you got a little bit of fingerstyle lullaby vibe going on. If you just take the same D chord here and you change one note and you go like this, now all of a sudden it's the same D chord but it sounds flamenco, right? Just like if you play a D chord on an electric guitar or a steel string acoustic, it's going to sound totally different. So diversification is key for me. My evolution as a player started with Eddie Van Halen. Come on, 1984, MTV, you know, and in a minute I'm going to do a couple different things I'll demonstrate. So from there I evolved, excuse me, and I had some really great teachers. I was very fortunate at an early age. And then I got into some classical. So one of my teachers said, you know, if you're into like Eddie Van Halen and Yngwie Malmsteen, I was into all these shredders, you know, who doesn't love shredding? Even to this day, I love shredding. I'm not the consummate shredder, I'm not gonna, you know, lie. I dabble in it. But he says, if you're into all that, you should check out Paganini. So then you hear phrases like this. And all of a sudden I said, oh wow, I like that. That's got a nice little tone. So Paganini, Nikolai Paganini was a violinist. And you hear all these little phrases and you're like, wow, they're really cool. With lots of arpeggios with some little scale patterns in there. And you say, oh, I see how this shredding came about. It was from these, you know, 18th, 19th century virtuoso musicians where all this stuff stemmed from. So now if you play that same phrase with some distortion, now you sound like a shredder, right? So then I got into classical. And then from there you think, okay, well, let's get into the typical stuff. You know, the cello suite from Bach, you know. Play that and you're like, oh wow, it's so beautiful. And then, I'm going to talk a little louder now because the AC just kicked on, but it's good because I'm hot. And then you say, okay, well, I can learn the notes, but now I'm going to pour some passion into it. So then you learn how to use dynamics, you know. And you learn other techniques along the way, like vibrato and bending and whatnot. Now, again, one of the biggest techniques that guitar players we use all the time is vibrato, right? So there's several different kinds of vibrato, but for classical, the vibrato is going to be more side to side, okay? So it's very subtle. I'm still learning the spacing. I'm borrowing all of Steve's guitars. Everything up here is Steve's. Thank you, Steve. So I'm like learning the spacing. Right? You can hear that vibrato. Of course, I'm overemphasizing a little bit, but it's side to side. So my fingers wiggle this way. Whereas blues vibrato is more up and down, right? My fingers would wiggle this way, and it gives you a whole different kind of vibe. So again, stemming back to diversity. So as I evolved as a player, I'm taking little notes subliminally. I didn't even know this until I start to come of age and go back and analyze it. I said, oh, well, that's what makes the difference between this and this. What makes the difference between Bob Dylan and Jim Croce? Well, there's little subtleties, right, and nuances. But what makes the difference between Jim Croce and Bob Dylan and Andre Segovia? Because they're still playing the same instrument, right? But how does Segovia make it sound this way and Bob Dylan just, you know, knocking on, you know, I mean, it's totally different, you know, or Willie Nelson. So you go from these different genres and you learn all the little elements. again, diversity. From there, I got really excited. My teacher showed me a really cool chord. It was this one. You hear that chord, you're like, my parents said, hey, you're playing it wrong, man, stop. Go back to your teacher, ask him how to play that right. I'm like, but Dad, you don't understand, it's jazz. My dad's like, jazz. There's no money in jazz, kid. So, unfortunately, he's right, it's still money. But see, you learn that first chord is a 13 with a sharp 11 down there towards the bass. It does sound kind of, a little dark and ugly at times, but then you find the beauty in it. Especially because that's a suspension chord, and then you're going to resolve it by going, so you pick it up on the 5. And now you're playing jazz. When I learned that, my dad was like, all right, that's cool. But there's still no money in it. Until I proved him wrong and I got my first cocktail gig, right? Cocktail hour gig. So when you go play a cocktail hour gig, I got $50 for my first gig. My mom had a friend who was throwing a party. Oh, my son, he plays the guitar. He would love to play for your party. I'm like, Mom, what? I don't know, what are you talking about? I'm like 15. I barely could play, the D chord. But no, I could play a lot more. So I remember how I did this. I brought my old little stereo system. I had an old stereo with big speakers and a cassette deck, right? Yeah, I'm dating myself again. But I went and I had these play-along tapes. How many of you are into jazz, first of all? Okay, great. So Jamie Aebersold, do you remember the play-along tape? So Jamie Aebersold was a great music jazz educator, and he made these original jam tracks with real musicians that played along. So I brought those, and then I would just play, things like... Right? So that's Misty from Earl Garner, right? So I'm playing this cocktail hour, I'm doing all that stuff, and then in between I might throw in, a little, all of those stuff that you learn when you first kind of get your fingers on classical, you're first kind of getting your fingers in jazz, and then I might even play just like a little pop song, right? So now, not only did I prove to my dad that I could earn money playing some jazz at a cocktail hour setting, but I proved to myself that you could actually do this as a career. I'm like, wow, this is kind of cool, because ever since I can remember when I saw Eddie Van Halen, I wanted to be that guy. Now today, I'm not Eddie Van Halen. I'm not a rock star, obviously. But I am who I am. I'm Nomad, Michael Nomad Ripoll. And here's the great news. You are who you are, and we can all bring our own unique voice to the instrument. So honestly, to me, that deserves a round of applause. Because if you look around the room, it really does. If you look around the room, you have all these different faces and people from all over the globe. I just met a lovely couple from Australia who traveled all the way. You're around here somewhere, I know you are. I mean, that's amazing, and we have people from all over, domestically here in the States, and, and again, diverse backgrounds, okay? So that's something important. All right, but I don't want to get too far along, but that's about me, that's the evolution of who I am as a player. And now let's get into the nitty-gritty. I'm just checking my notes to make sure I got everything here. Right. Okay, so I believe I did a good job of explaining what a career guitarist is, correct? Right. So as Steve mentioned, I have been fortunate enough to play on some really cool records for some really fantastic artists, to play on some great film scores. And the reason why I moved out to LA was to pursue my career further in the film and TV world, and also to try to play with other artists and do my own thing as an artist, which I do to this day, much like this setting. However, it wasn't until the crash of the industry started really hitting, like around 2008, 2009, the industry said, whoa, wait a minute, you know what? Music, you're not just going to buy it anymore, we're not going to buy your CDs for $20, we're down all this stuff. So all that stuff started happening, so I said, okay, wait a minute. If I'm going to continue to be a career musician, I got to figure out some diversification again. We come back to that other D word, right? The diversification. Now we're like in demystification. Now we're trying to demystify how to continue to earn a living as a musician. And that's my passion, jointly with with the playing part, I want to share that with others. And just like if you think about when you're sitting down for any business and you say, how can I maximize my potential earnings? How can I expand my network in order to help my net worth grow, right? And it's not just, I'm not just coming from a monetary sense here. Yeah, we need money to survive. I have no desire to be a millionaire. I really don't care to. I don't need that. I just want enough so I can get by for my family and myself, provide. However, I do have a huge desire to continue to be able to play guitar and music for a living while earning that money. So that is my goal. That is my dream to continue perpetuating. That's why I wrote this book. The book is called The Career Guitarist. This is volume 1. Now in volume 1 we cover a handful of topics. And some of the things are, like, number 1, you can play, now what? So just like I said, the evolution of playing from when I was a child to now. I went through various stages, and so I learned. So then you learn how to, your basic finger picking with your cowboy chords, right? Okay, that sounds pretty good. So you can sit there. So you can keep a little groove now. Now you can play for real. You can play in front of people. You're good. You get a nice little variety in your playing. But what happens next? So from just being a great player to making it a career, what are some of the things you have to do? Well, Steve Vai, who's one of my heroes, I love Steve Vai. I have so many guitar heroes, the list goes on and on. But Steve Vai says, don't focus on your weaknesses, because we were always taught to focus on your weakness, right? So if you can't sight read that well, you know what? Sit down for 2 hours a day. In 6 months, you'll be able to read Frank Zappa music, which is crazy. He called it the black page, right? Frank Zappa's black word. Just there's so much little notes that it just like black on all the white, paper. Well, that is one way of doing it. He says, don't focus on your weaknesses, focus on your strengths. So I agree with both, because I wasn't the greatest reader, and I'm still not an ultimate reader, so I do practice it when I can. But I also learned that you have to focus on your strengths. And why is that important? Because when you focus on your strength, that's going to make you as a player. So when you figure out, you know what, yeah, I love Dylan, I love, Johnny Cash, but I also love Yngwie Malmsteen. Like, whoa, 2 furthest worlds apart. How could that, but I also love Segovia. Now you're getting crazy, man, But I also love Mark O'Connor, bluegrass, but fusion bluegrass, what? So now you're getting just nuts, and you have this big mixed bag of things. Well, take influences from all that, and then be yourself. So that's number 1. You can play, but if you want to expound your territories, start taking all these different influences, and not only focus on your weaknesses that you want to improve, but focus on your strengths. That'll help you find your voice, okay? Because if I sit here and just play, and it's fun, and it's cool, but that doesn't make me unique, right? So how would I play the blues uniquely? Wow, I'm putting myself on the spot here, jeez. So I might take a blues pattern. If you say, hey, Nomad, play me some blues. What key, man? G flat. Oh, okay, no problem. Okay, not everybody's going to play the blues like that, right off the bat. So that's the way I chose to start it. It's a little more unique to my handprint, my fingerprint, right? What I'm doing. So that's why we focus on our strengths to find our own voice. The next thing, as a career guitarist, you have to remember is that your talent is not your career. And I think all the ladies in the room would be able to identify with this when a man comes up, he's like, hey baby, what's happening? Coming off. Where you just think you're God's gift to women. And she's like, no, I don't. And my husband's right there. What do you want? Oh, sorry. So no, we are not God's gift to music just because we can play well. Oh, let me say that one time. We are not God's gift to the world because we are talented musicians. And that's a head trip. You got to wrap your mind around that. Because when I sit down at a conference like this, and I hear at lunch that Phil Keggy just played before me yesterday, I'm like, Right. Brent, you're going to go see Brent Mason. You're going to go see all these other guitar players that are just amazing. The guy, Ian, I can't remember his last name, who was here yesterday. That guy, I want to take my guitar and knock it over his head. Stop being so good, dude. You can't be that good. You're making it hard for me. You know, so that's the kind of thing. It's you have to realize that you are, yes, you are all unique and special, but you're not really special because you have that talent. So, knowing that, what are you going to do? Your talent is not your career. So the first thing you have to get good at is interacting with people. You have to have some social skills, in my opinion. Now, in the beginning, I was really shy and introverted. It was hard for me to mix with people. Yeah, I swear I was. It doesn't seem like it, but I was. So you have to just kind of, get out there and learn how to mix with people. That's important. The second thing is you have to plan. And I know the old saying, excuse me for sweating a little bit here, but I know the old saying about planning. What do they say? A plan is just a way of making, your plans is a way of making God laugh or something like that. I get it. I understand that. Sometimes plans don't always work out the way we want them to. But you have to plan. If you're going to do this as a career, you have to plan ahead. So you have to figure out your career path, your trajectory, if you will. Map it out. So what does that mean? Get out. Start going to the jam sessions in your hood, in your little local area first. Meet people. Try to book some gigs. Then, continue on like that. For me, growing up, this was 80s, 90s, before the internet. I went out to all the hot clubs in the area in New York and in South Florida, where I grew up, in both cities and states, and found the best players and approached them after the gig. Hey man, you don't know me, blah, blah, blah. I would love to take some lessons with you. Now, back then, it was hard for me to even get those words out because I really was shy. But then a couple guys would be cool, or gals would be cool enough and say, sure, yeah, I charge this, here's my number, call me. You got to call those people, you got to follow up. Now you're on your way to building your path to becoming a professional musician, right? Now, if you're not a professional musician and you have no desire to be a professional musician, guess what? It doesn't matter. Because as musicians, I don't care if you're a hobbyist, the novelist of novelists, okay? I just don't know what I'm saying, I made that up. But the most novel of novels, whatever. It doesn't matter, because here's the thing, once you start playing, what do you want to do? You want to keep playing. And what do you want to do when you keep playing? You want to learn different things, new things. And the only way to learn new things and different things and grow is by hobnobbing with other people who do what you do and figuring it out. Now, of course, we have the internet, so it's a lot easier. I think, again, that's a blessing and a curse. Because it's a curse because we can sit home in our little hole and just do that and get lost in it. And I've gone down the YouTube black hole for hours on end. I think the longest I've ever gone down the YouTube black hole has been for like 6 hours. Where literally you just guitar player after guitar player after guitar player. You're like, you just get so immersed in it. But for us doing this, Steve Krenz, I applaud you, because it's a gathering. We still have to get out. All right, that's enough on that. But you get the idea. All right, you made a career. You're out there playing the clubs. You're burning it up. Somebody says to you, dude, you're good. Well, you want a gig? Yeah, man. I'm going out with so-and-so. It's a van tour. It's going to pay you $600 a week. We're going to be gone for 6 weeks. Sure, man. Yeah, sounds great. Now, mind you, in the beginning, you might be 18, 19, 20 years old. That's perfect. That's what you want. What happens when somebody says that to you when you're 44? Exactly. It's a joke. That's cute, man. No, go ahead. You do that. Unless they home and raise my family. But so it's a little more tough. But there are ways to do it. Again, what's Ian's last name from yesterday?
Case.
So Ian is a great example of doing that. He's going and doing his indie tour with his wife, and they figured out how to make it work. So my point being, again, in the book, there are ways to do this. You just got to figure out exactly what it is you want to do, and then map out how you're going to do it. Okay? Once you get out there, there are rules of the road. The number one rule is be responsible. Don't go out there and be a crazy rock and roll musician stereotype. I don't think I have to say that to anybody in this room. I think we're safe. Everybody here is here for the one sole purpose of really getting good on their instrument. But some of the other rules that might not be as obvious, if you're a sideman, like I have built much of my career on, okay, we call that a sideman. So when I played, God rest her soul, for the great late great Natalie Cole. I love her, gorgeous. Gorgeous voice, gorgeous personality, gorgeous person, most of all, gorgeous heart. She was the sweetest woman ever. I played with her for about 3 years. So when she's doing, unforgettable, right? That's what you are, right? Okay, and she's singing that. So am I gonna be over there like, and so she'll be like, guitar player, fired. Music director, find another guitar player. Excuse me, audience, we'll be right back. You know what I mean? You can't do that. You got to know your part. So that's a sideman. So don't hog the spotlight. So again, if you're playing rhythm, you just got to get in there. Use the old Freddie Green style. Freddie Green was the great rhythm guitar player for the Count Basie Orchestra, and he invented that style. Playing with his thumb and just strumming a nice groove, Right? So you just getting that groove going. Now, that was even pretty elaborate. If Natalie was here singing that with me today, I would play it like that with full chords. But when you have a full band around you, now, again, what's the word? Diversification. We have to diversify and figure out, now I'm not playing solo guitar with a vocal, I'm playing with a band, so now I'm only going to play 2 or 3 notes. So now I might just go, right? And then when I get to the G7, I'm just playing three notes. All right, so I'm playing these guys. Now I know, because of theory, those are called the guide tones, the 3rd and the 7th. Some of you may know that as well. All right, we're not going to get elaborate in theory and technique today, but you get the idea, right? So again, we're diversifying. So rule of the road, number 2, don't hog the spotlight. If the artist is here doing their thing, you embellish what they're doing. You don't, try to get up and show your coolest, Joe Pass, licks and all that stuff in the middle of the performance. All right, something else for rules of the road. It is always about the song, the sentiment. What are you serving the purpose for? If an artist such as Colby Calais, I played with her. So if she's out there and she's coming up and she's saying, she's playing to her demographic, which is like, 11-year-old to maybe, 20-something-year-old young ladies, or, preteen and teenage girls, and they're there to hear Colby's songs. They know every single word, backwards and forwards. They might say, oh, Randy, Kirkland's cute, and they might, giggle, but they really don't care about you other than that. Or they might say, well, look at the drummer, he just waved at me. Okay, cute, great. But why are they there? Their parents bought them these expensive tickets. so, hey, we all got our living. So that they can see her, and for some of these younger people, when they see their, idols up there, that's their dream, so they're there to hear the song. So serve the song, okay? I think I hit that home. Rules of the road. Studio chops, total opposite. Now when you get in the studio, you're not so much as dealing with the artist. Now I've been in the studio with Travis Tritt, Sam Moore from Sam and Dave. You remember Soul Man, right? Right? So, Soul Man, great, oh man, just a legend, So when you're in the studio with some of these artists, sometimes they do show up. There was another time I was in the studio playing on Barbra Streisand's album, her last album, called Partners. She did a duets album. I didn't see her once. So, in the studio, what happens? You are deferring to the artist if they're there, of course. But guess what? The artist is deferring to the producer, and the producer takes the helm. So whether like a Nashville guy here, Tommy Sims, great producer, or Mark Hammond, or just Tony Brown, name any of the top producers here. Oh, how about Dan Huff? Oh, show of hands. Come on, Dan Huff. He's amazing. He's like one of the best guitar players ever, and incidentally, one of the best producers ever. But now, when you get hired to be in the studio, you got to defer to the producer. So if the producer says to you, hey man, you know what? I want you to bring a small rig today. I want you to bring about 3 or 4 steel string acoustics, maybe one nylon. That will lead it, but just in case. bring about 6 to 10 electrics, all varieties, and maybe 2 or 3 combo amps and a nice big pedal board. Oh, that's a small rig. Okay, wow. Right, you might say that's a small rig, but it actually is, because it's going to get you where you need to be, depending on the colors you need to paint or whatever it is you're doing that day. If you're tracking 5 songs and they're all different, you're going to need a Tele, you're going to need a 335 type guy, you're going to need a Strat, maybe a Les Paul, you're going to need a cool custom acoustic like this, McPherson, but maybe you're also going to need a Dreadnought, a classic Martin, but then maybe you're also going to need something else and this and that. So, number 1, defer to the producer, studio chops, whatever they ask you to bring it. Don't make an excuse. I'll tell you a story. It's a very good story. Who knows Danny Elfman? Right? Danny Elfman, famous composer now. He works with Tim Burton all the time. But he was also in Oingo Boingo, one of the founding members of that cool rock band from back in the day. He called me for a session. Men in Black 3. We're on the session. I shouldn't even be admitting this to you. If you share this information, watch it. I'm half Italian. But no, I joke. But my Uncle Vinny doesn't joke. He doesn't take and he knows people. I know him, and he knows people. That's all I'm going to say. But no, so Danny Elfman says to me, "Hey man, this is great." In the opening scene of the movie, this woman, Nicole Schwartzinger, she's from the Pussycat Dolls, she's a singer, and she's walking with this cake, and she's holding a cake, and she's walking into the elevator, and these monsters come out, aliens. Anyway, that whole beginning of the movie is all crazy rock guitar stuff. That's my guitar, right? So when you go back and watch it, you're, oh cool, that's Nomad playing guitar. I'll get that later. So that scene, he says, okay, great. We did a couple rock versions just with the guitar, with the amps and distortion. And then he says, now give me a wah-wah. I said, sure, no problem. Go through my rig. Now I have, because I'm a career guitarist, I have a guitar tech and I have a storage locker and a cartage service where they take all the gear for you. So I know my tech set up my B rig that day. Because my A rig, so I have 2 big rigs. An A rig and a B rig. Well, the A rig was at another studio. I just finished doing a session for somebody else. The B rig had 1 wah-wah pedal in it. Now let me tell you this, if anybody goes camping, you never bring 1 of anything. You always bring what? At least 2 of everything, right? Just in case the one gets lost, broken, stolen, whatever. Faux pas on my part. I brought 1 wah-wah in the B rig. He goes, that sounds cool, but you have a crybaby. You mean like me? Because I'm going to cry like a baby right now because I don't? And I can't believe I'm making a fool of myself in front of you, Mr. Elfman? So I didn't have the crybaby. Now I'm not going to say that he never called me back for that reason. I'm not going to say he's never not going to call me again. Who knows? We never know. But the point is, I should have had the stinking crybaby on me. So, studio etiquette, studio chops, always be uber prepared. Never forget anything. That includes if your buddy Bill says, hey Tom, why don't you come over and record some guitar parts on my little project that I'm putting together. Say, sure Bill, I'm excited to do that. What would you like me to bring? If Tom says to you, man, I really love the way you play that McPherson, but also bring that Martin you have, and you know what, I know you dabble on the mandolin, bring that sucker too. Oh, Tom, come on man, you're going to make me carry all that stuff to your house to do this thing? Come on. Just oblige the guy, bring it all, have fun, right? You know what I'm saying? So again, it doesn't matter if you're like super up at the top or if you're just doing it for fun. Explore, have fun with it. Those are your studio chops. Remember, well, one of the other things, and I think in life, and a lot of this, please don't take this the wrong way, because I'm right there with you at the top of the hill. I'm 44. The younger demographic really needs to hear a lot of this. One of the things we learn in life, hopefully when we're younger, is that we keep our eyes and ears wide open and our mouths shut. And boy, do we all learn that the hard way sometimes, just like I learned that too with Stevie Wonder. So actually this leads me to another story. Do I have time for another story? No, I don't. All right, Stevie Wonder story real quick. We're on stage. We're in the Cayman Islands playing a big tribute. Sting is there, Stevie Wonder's there. We're in the house band, right? I start off, wait a minute, and then I'm going to play more, I promise. So, this is a good opportunity to pick up the electric. Okay. So, Superstition, right? Anybody know Superstition?
Yeah.
Okay, famous song. So then the band leader calls it off. Oh, okay, that works, great. So now, a lot of times, as a guitar player, I don't know about this mic, hold on, give me 1 second. As a guitar player, we play songs that are in flat keys, in sharp keys. Anybody know why we do that? Anybody know why we play songs as a guitarist? Why would we want to play a song that's in a flat key? Oh, sorry.
Because usually we got a piano player playing with us.
Usually, and those stinking piano players, they got everything right in front of them, laid out, in black and white, literally. They're real good, man. Learn how to play a real instrument like a guitar. Seriously, I mean, if this thing had black and white dividers, I'd be like, oh, cool, yeah, black keys, no, the white keys, great. No, I'm just kidding. My keyboard player buddies are going to kill me. See, I see you back there. He's like, I know people too. He's from Pittsburgh. I forgot. I didn't forget. All right. No, but it's true. You know, that's so to play in a key, in a flat key on the guitar is not that easy. Because if you learn, you know, you think about all the open strings. I don't want that to be too overly loud. But if you play in all the open strings, they're just, you know, they're natural notes, right? You know, E, A, D, G, B, E. Okay, that's all natural notes. And it's really easy to play. G chord, D, so, you know, A, E. We're playing all these open, sharp keys. You know, even C is like, okay, it's a little easy. But I say to you play B flat, you're like, oh, shoot, now what? Well, I can do that. Sure, you can do that. Okay, no problem, right? I always like playing my 5th root bar chords like this, especially in a classical context, because now you're getting all those 5 tones, right? So you get the root twice, you get the 3rd once, and you get the 5th twice. Okay, versus if you play it like this, you only get that, but then if you accidentally hit the high E, you get the 6. Now, which is cool in certain styles of music. If I tell you to play a B flat, this is one of the reasons why we don't play in flat keys. Right? So if I tell you to play B flat and you go like this, I'm like, okay, what do you mean, Hawaii? That's cool. You know? That's great. The little hula girl just finished. That sounds beautiful. Or a Tom and Jerry episode. You know, so that's cool. But now if you play a regular B flat, it's like that, so it's a lot harder. Now if I say to you play a G flat, you're going to go here. But you can't play a G flat like you play a G. Okay, so back to the Stevie Wonder story. So most guitar players, because Superstition was written in E flat on a keyboard, Stevie, I love you, but you played it in E flat. All right. Right away, I said, well, wait a minute. This is my internal dialogue within like 10 milliseconds. Wait a minute. I'm on stage, I'm playing for Stevie Wonder, one of the most famous musicians. Okay, he wrote the song in E flat, but most guitar players do it in E. But I don't want to be that guy on stage who plays it in E, and then plays it in E flat. Oh shoot, what should I do? Okay, I'm going to play it in E flat because that's the key he wrote it in, and the band director didn't say, the music director didn't delineate which is which. So I'm like, okay. So I'm going to go for it in E flat. Oh man, I'm feeling myself now because I'm grooving. Like even you guys are bobbing me. I'm grooving. All of a sudden, the bass player, who's the music director, looks over and goes, E. But wait, because I'm looking at the music director because that's who I defer to because technically he's my boss. And he defers to the artist, which we call the principal. So if you ever hear anybody say the principal, that means the artist. So he's watching Stevie, and I can't hear. It's crazy up there. We got 12 musicians, 4 background singers. It's nuts. 20,000 people scream. It's crazy. And all of a sudden, I look over at Stevie, and Stevie goes, E, man, E. E. On the microphone.
Straight down to nothing.
So, thank you, my dear. So, thank you for reiterating that. Yes, I did shrink down to nothing, and I found a rock on the beach, and I hid behind it. At least I was in the Cayman Islands. But, so you understand my point. So again, part about being, a part about being a career guitarist, a professional musician of any sort, you really got to do your homework, you really got to know things. Sometimes it's almost impossible to be that prepared in advance, right? Now, that day, we played for about 7 artists, including Stevie Wonder, including Sting, including Natalie Cole, including Patti LaBelle, including, The Temptations. I mean, it was just, so, thank God I got this one right. All right, I got that one, nailed it, yep, exactly. But, all right, so now, let me just give you a little illustration. So, this is actually cool for theory and jamming out stuff. Let me give me 1 second. Okay, even better, all right. So, when I played it in E flat, I can only articulate certain little movements and certain little notes. But if I played in E, now that gives me the low E string as a pedal tone. Who here can tell me what a pedal tone is? Not you, Steve.
It's the fundamental of the pitch.
The fundamental of the pitch that you're playing, yes, that will work in some context.
At the bottom of the overtone series, for
In
example.
the bottom, and it's usually a lower note, and it's a pedal tone, but it rings out. It's carried throughout. Right, so that is correct. You just add one little part to that. So you have a pedal tone. You're playing this low note of, which is usually the principle of that key. So if it's E, then it's a low E. And then on top, you're playing all these other little notes that are in E as well. But this guy, the low E, keeps ringing out. That's why guitar players, even Stevie Ray Vaughan did it. He played it in open E. Because now he can go. Now I'm overemphasizing right now, but you hear that low E? When you hear that low E, you're like, oh, now I'm getting somewhere, right? So I was relieved, nonetheless, to hear that Stevie said, no, it's E. All right, there's my Stevie Wonder story. But that's the technique, that's the theory. Some friends are there. So, scratch that. It's in a business event. Your husband or wife or friend says to you, come on out to me with this thing, it's going to be a lot of fun. And you say, babe, I don't really want to go. It's going to be a bunch of doctors and lawyers. I won't fit in. No, come on, it'll be fine. Have this big, nice, fancy dinner, everybody's sitting there. So, what is it that you do? What? I'm sorry, what did you? You're a magician? Not so much, but yeah, I am actually. I make money up here. How it happens. But, oh, my husband, he's a musician. And let me tell you, he's an amazing musician. What are the first reactions you think we get? Oh, that's great. Play me some. Oh, that's nice, that's nice. I'm sorry, Bill, what were you saying about the surgery you just did yesterday? How much money did you earn on that last account, Mr. Jefferson? Okay, so all of a sudden you're like, Now, some of that can be self-inflicted. I'm overemphasizing right now, obviously. But a lot of people just think, how can you make a respectable career out of being a musician? The answer is by watching me and by reading my book. Because you can do it, and it's legit. So the final ingredient to the career guitarist, this series and in general, is business acumen. You have to know how to run a business. And everybody here, I already knows this, right? So no matter what we do, let me see a show of hands, how many quote-unquote independent contractors we have in the room. Okay. Give me some independent contractors, like in what line of work? Blurt it out. Landscaping. Healthcare. Rock climbing wall. Software developer. Okay, those are all independent contractors. What is an independent contractor? We know is you're in business for yourself. Okay, so it's tough. You have to learn. First of all, you have to learn the social skills and the networking. You have to know how to build a network of people, a clientele that keep coming back for more. Secondly, you have to know how to build the business infrastructure itself, the website, the billing, the advertising, invoicing, right? All this stuff. The job order, the work orders, the purchase orders, the accounts receivable, accounts payable. You're a one-person show. Now, how many people do we have working in the corporate world? Okay, another good handful of people. Give me some, what do you do? IT? Engineering. Sales. I'm not going to say it's a hard, definite, black and white answer, but chances are, if you're in the corporate world and you're in one department, your workload focuses pretty much on that one department of things. If you're in sales, man, I'm the guy to build the network and keep it cultivate it. I'm going to keep growing that network to sell people to new people, and the returning customers, I'm going to keep them happy. If you're an engineer, you say your boss says, man, all you got to do is figure out which wire to cut first, the red one or the blue one. If you do that, then the other departments could then do their job, right? Excuse me, now, of course I'm being silly, but you get the point. When you're an independent contractor, a lot of times everything falls on you. So that's what I'm trying to teach musicians. Again, if you're going to do this for a living, I don't care if you're 20, 40, 60, or 80. Because look, now with the internet, with the advent, we're in the information technology age, you can actually start a career and be an amazing guitarist and go out and start touring if you want, or do streaming concerts. So it doesn't matter what age you are, just have the business skills, know how to put it together and know how to use it. That basically covers the concept of the book. Other things I like to talk about, again, diversification. As a professional musician, and this, well, obviously this is also in the book, how do you create the diversity with income? Name 3 different ways you can be a musician and earn money. Anybody?
Writing.
Writing. Teaching. 2. Performing. Singing, performing would be 1, right? Yep. Producing, that's 4. Composing, that's 5. Okay, so you get the idea. As I started my career, I knew I was a songwriter. So I would play and write songs, but then sometimes I would get tired of those songs. Let me do something right here. Okay, I would play and write songs. Sometimes I would get tired of those songs. So then I started learning other people's songs. And if anybody studies jazz, a good teacher will tell you to do what? Transcribe. So you listen to Charlie Parker, John Coltrane, Wes Montgomery, and you figure out what the heck it is they're doing with all those bebop notes and all this good stuff. And then you try to implement it into what you're doing. So I realized at that point, I love jazz, I love classical, I love rock. I love writing, I love singing, I love performing, I love playing with other musicians. Again, this is part of diversification. So honestly now, I do on a daily basis or a weekly or monthly basis, I do anywhere from 4 to 10 different job titles. I hold 5 to 10 different job titles on a consistent basis, right? And you just kind of juggle. But anybody who knows about being in business for yourself can attest to that. I'm going to play a couple jam tracks, and I'm going to talk about the different elements of what it takes to play these types of songs. So here's one blues thing. This is Born Under a Bad Sign, classic, right? Love the way Albert King did it. This is just a little mock-up, nothing fancy. I use this for teaching, for students to jam along with. Sing some blues here. The other thing about being a professional, know what the heck you're doing before you do it. So, Steve, which one is the distortion? This guy. Oh, it's the overdrive. Okay. Got it. I love the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Okay. So let me backtrack a little bit. This is a blues jam. You know what to do. C sharp minor. How to play blues, right? A lot of people can do that. All good. What did I use? Well, I'm using the C sharp minor pentatonic. It's pretty easy. Just like you play A minor pentatonic. Right? You slide it up to C sharp and there you have it. I'm playing over here, I'm playing over there, I'm playing over there. Only because I took the scale and I figured out how to put it all over the neck, right? My point being, you're playing the blues. How do we not get stuck in patterns? That's probably one of the big questions that comes with a lot of players. How do you not get stuck in patterns, playing patterns? Anybody? You have to know what? There's one thing you have to know. To not get stuck in patterns, you have to know the notes on the neck. All right? So you have to know that this is an E, this is an F, this is a G, this is an A, B. What am I doing? I'm just going through the alphabet, right? There's 2 rules to go through the alphabet. You're playing all the natural notes. This is obviously the theory portion of the book. I forgot to disclose that. I have a modular practice guide at the end of the book, and it teaches you how, basically, to decode any type of music and figure out how to play it. Well, you got to use these techniques and employ them on a daily basis, so we'll start to get the hang of it. So, to learn the notes on the neck, that's number 1. Go through all of your natural notes. Follow the alphabet. So if the string is an E, then follow the alphabet. You know, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, keep going. Remembering 2 things. B and C and E and F are the only 2 notes that are half step apart. Does everybody get that? So if you think about a piano, you look on a piano between B and C and between E and F, those are the only sets of 2 keys that don't have a black key in the middle, right? So again, stinking keyboard player is getting away with murder over here. It's laid out for them. It's not laid out for us. You can't tell where an E is on a guitar. You can't look and say, well, I know that's an E because there's no black key in the middle. It doesn't tell us that, so we got to figure it out. Next string, B, starts on B. So that means from B to C is a half step. So I can't go from B to C sharp, that's a whole step. I have to go from B to C, it's a half step. Now, what note is next? D, right? Doesn't take a rocket scientist. This keeps coming off, sorry. So how do we know where to play D? Well, remember what I just said. B and C and E and F are the only groups of notes that don't have a black key in the middle. So these are whole steps now. C to D. That's D. Right? Let me turn that guy off. That's D. C to D. D to E. Whole step. And now what happens? E to F. What's it going to be? You, sir. Half step. Another person. To the left. What's it going to be from F to G? Whole step. Exactly. Man in the green. Yes. G to A. What is it? Now, see? Okay, we all get this. Where does the hard part come? Where we start throwing the accidentals, right? Is this like, does everybody have all this? Like, am I speaking at total beginner level and you guys are like, oh, you suck, dude, get out of here. Or is this good? Okay, some people are, okay, good. But I know there's a lot of shredders in here that'll just put me to shame. But this is the basics, this is the foundation. All right, so when you start to add accidentals, then it becomes difficult. You're like, well, wait a minute. How can this be a C sharp, and 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 another C sharp, another C sharp, another C sharp? I'm going to take this thing and throw it off the balcony.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be that hard. It just takes a little bit of time, determination. All right, so now you have B, C. If you go up a half step, that's your C sharp. C sharp. Then D. Okay? What's after D? D sharp. What's after D sharp? E. What's after E? E sharp? F. Ah, see, gotcha. Right. And then F sharp and then G. Okay, now let's descend. Let's go down. Okay, so ascending up the scale is up, descending is down. So let's start. I'm going to pick a difficult one. Let's start on A right here. So I'm on the 2nd string, the B string on the 10th fret. That's an A note, okay? Let's descend. So what's the half step below A?
A flat.
A flat, right. Now somebody said G sharp, I think. If you say G sharp, be careful. Typically the rule goes, the theory rule goes, when you're ascending, use sharps. When you're descending, use flats. Of course, you have to be cognizant of your key that you're in, the parent key. So if you're in the key of A flat, don't tell me it's a G sharp. It's an A flat. Remember, I know people. I mean, I know that I know people. So, watch out. You know, but seriously, so that's one good way of thinking about it. So you're descending, use flats, ascending, use sharp. All right, next we have G. After the go down from the G is what? G flat. Are you starting to see it now? So what I do is 2 things. First, I just do all the natural notes. And this is an exercise. I'll put the metronome on. I see my metronome. Would you mind handing me that metronome right there? See that little guy? Thank you so much. I mean, you know, solo. Whoops, still solo. Solo, you know, or you say, oh, I want to learn how to play. So, you know, if you want to play just. So you're soloing. Well, okay, what is the first thing some somebody says to you, man, I just want to know how to solo better, right? But what's holding you back from soloing better? Tell me. Scales, chords, and arpeggios. If you know this chord, that's a C chord, right? Do you know the scale that goes along with it? Yes? How many yes? Yes? I'm going to make a point here. How many know? No. Okay, okay. Because the yeses are going to keep you, the no's accountable. So now, especially if you're buddies or, there you go. So the whole point is you got a C chord, learn the scale that goes with it. That's easy enough. Learn the arpeggio. Wait, what's an arpeggio? An arpeggio is just a chord broken into pieces. Take a slice of a pizza. What do we call the whole pizza? Back where I'm from. A pie, a pizza pie. Break it up, what do we call it? A slice. Think of it as pies and slices, okay? A chord is the pie, is the whole thing together. An arpeggio is a slice. It's one little increment of it. So now you have the chord, and you have the arpeggio broken down. C, E, G, C. Okay, that's the arpeggio. Now it's not enough to learn it right there. You really need to learn it everywhere. Here's the chord, here's the scale, here's the arpeggio. Here's the chord or the scale. Here's the chord, here's the arpeggio. So it's getting a little trickier as the fingerings and everything moves up. Now, notes on the neck, you might not recognize them right away. It's okay if you go with patterns. And here's the thing. My method of teaching is not here to hold your hand. I'm giving you these little things to try to unlock these enigmas in your mind. You have plenty of resources out there with the internet, with the interweb and all that stuff, okay? But seriously, if you're looking for fingerings, chord and scale fingerings, go look it up. But once you get it, keep it locked in by practicing all the time. The thing is, think of it in these little modular pieces. Scales, chords, arpeggios. Now, if somebody says to you, born under a bad sign in C sharp minor, you're not as intimidated anymore. Because you say, well, first of all, how do I play a C sharp minor chord? I know that. That's a C sharp minor 6th root bar chord, or a 5th root. But I can also play a 4th root. Or I could just play an upper extension inversion. Or I can play this guy. I can play this guy. Wow, all these little different inversions all over the neck. Because you started taking the time to break it down. Then you say the scale, well, what's the scale that goes with it? C sharp minor, or C sharp Aeolian mode. So we have the scale, the chord, the arpeggio. Now that arpeggio and that scale are going to be the sources for you to start jamming over it. So if you look at the same thing again, bad sign, I'm going to play the arpeggio and the scale. Well, we know the chord, okay? Now I'll play the scale. Easy enough. Now I'll play the arpeggio. Okay. Well, again, I learned those fingerings just from, my favorite book or my favorite teacher online or whatever. Steve Krenz has an amazing course that teaches all these fundamentals, okay? So make sure you get that, if not, if you don't have it. Now, you say, well, how do I make it go from sounding like an exercise to practicing to actually playing? Start to bring out your personality. Some people are real introverted and quiet, right? If I was a real introverted, quiet person, or if I was an introverted, quiet mood, I might play it like this. That's nice. That's like a nice little mellow riff, I'm just chilling. I'm just playing it nice and relaxed. If I'm in a boisterous, crazy mood, I might do something else. Let's go back to the arpeggio. notes and from the arpeggio, certain notes from the scale, and just mixed it up. So, again, using your dynamics, diversification, mix things up according to your mood, let your personality come out. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. If you do this, I'm going to put some overdrive. If you do this, don't stop. Don't be scared by that. Okay, it's all good. What did I just do? I figured out how to self-correct instantaneously. I played a wrong note. It's really not a wrong note, it's a flat 5 in theory. If you use a flat 5 properly, you can play it anywhere and get away with it. Okay? The advanced players know what I'm talking about. Nikolai Paganini knew what I was talking about. He invented what they used to call the devil's interval, because it sounds really, especially back then they thought it sounded evil. Now it just sounds kind of twisted. But if you use it just right, if you use it just right, you can make that baby sing. But I snuck them in there in a way that you really didn't tell. I just did it with some emotion, threw some grease in there, what I like to call, and that baby just rolls along, right? Okay, that's the concept. So remember, apply your scales, chords, arpeggio methods to everything. If we were to do something else, how am I on time? Is Mr. Krenz still around?
No, that means you get to keep going.
Oh my God. Let's play this song. This is just like, okay. Can you turn up the playback a little bit? Okay, so that's kind of cool. It sounds like an old doo-wop kind of vibe, you know, or something really simple. It's a 1-6-4-5 progression for the first half, a 1-6-2-5. And I'm not just yelling out the numbers on my police plaque, right? I'm yelling out chord progression. So 1 stands for the 1 chord. In this case, in the key of A, our 1 chord is, all right, I'm going to call them out. The 6 chord in the key of A, F sharp what? Minor. The 4 chord in the key of A, D. The 5 chord in the key of A, E. Right, all those. With chords, what does it mean when you don't say major or minor? What does it imply? Major. Major. If you mean minor, you better say minor, right? If you mean something else, diminished, augmented, major 7, you better say it. If you just see the letter by itself, that always implies major. So there's several ways we can go about this. You have the A chord, you can do the old school. Wait, what's going on right here? I just played a chord and it's arpeggio. I just played the arpeggio really fast. So you play the chord. If you just take any old chord, you want to play it to arpeggio, just strum it really slow. You just played the arpeggio. You didn't quite play it in perfect chronological sequential order. That's okay. You got the gist of it. So it would be like. Okay, now the F sharp minor. The scale. A major, right? The 6th chord, F sharp minor. Let's play the scale first, which would be F sharp minor or F sharp Aeolian mode. I know some of the fingerings, you're like, what are you playing? And how do you know when to play an open string versus a fretted note? And how do you go? Well, again, you got to go back. Go back to your theory. Hey, did anybody remember the circle of fifths? Yes. Did you bring it with you? She always have it in your back pocket. Right. She always have it up here. I know it sounded funny the way I said it, but please go somewhere to a resource, a book, a video, an online tutorial. Memorize that darn thing. Do yourself another favor. You got, what did we say? We got 3 months to memorize all the notes on the neck because 2 strings a month, right? So take another month and just memorize the circle of fifths. If you do it now, I promise you, the rest of your days when you're chilling on the beach with your honey, sipping a little margarita, you're going to have so much peace. You're going to be like, look, I know the notes on my neck, and I know the circle of effects. I can retire. It's amazing. Chill, I'm good. So seriously, it's amazing how we don't realize. You ever clean your garage, and then you say, man, I feel good. What is that? That's a sense of accomplishment, right? I just cleaned my garage last week. I feel amazing. Seriously, I'm not lying. I'm going to take pictures and post them. Watch. I'm going to post my clean garage. Watch online, on Facebook. That man remembered his circle of fifths. He brought it with him. See? Hold it up again, sir. He's got it. That sense of accomplishment. And don't make promises to yourself that say, well, I'm going to work out and be the next Arnold Schwarzenegger or The Rock, because I do that to myself. I always let myself down. I learned, though, after doing that a bunch of times, to say, you know what? I'm not going to be so lofty. I do have big goals, but I'm going to go for the attainable. And I'm going to take baby steps. So just think, you do these little things, you take these little increments of improvement or growth, okay? I don't care if you're a professional or a hobbyist or anything in between, I guarantee you the sense of accomplishment you'll feel afterward is going to be quite rewarding. So again, my name is Michael, Nomad Ripoll. Thank you so much. All of my social media is at Nomad's Place, a little @ Nomad's Place. My website is nomadsplace.com. I got cards, I got stickers, I got thingamabobbies back there. I got a USB. It's got all this cool videos and everything on it. Check it out. I'll sit by the table for a minute to meet everybody, shake some hands. If you want me to sign something, but I don't know why you would, because I'm not keeping pictures, but whatever. Fantastic. Yes, thank you, Rick. Today's people, sorry. Thank you so much. You guys rock.